what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the same things. There's 20 people here for the first class. So 20 people here, well done for being self-aware enough to say, do you know what, I've got a lot on my mind. If meditation's going to help me, I'm in the right place. If you've misread the compass and you think it's a mediation class, you're in the wrong place. All right, I think there is going to be a few jokes. Obviously, a lot of people come down and say, is this actually a real thing that you're going to do? Yes, it is. Meditation I find to be really, really helpful in everyday life. And I'll tell you the reason I got started a long time ago. We've only got 20 people here. By the end of the cruise, I will guarantee there'll be up to 60 to 100 people at the class. The first day, there's a lot of things going on. People are walking around, still trying to find their way. And then by tomorrow, they'll start getting relaxed into their holiday, their experience, and they'll be like, I'm still stressed. Right, I'm going to go to the meditation class. So that's how it's going to start. So it starts off a little bit quieter and it builds and builds and builds. So in case you've not met me before, my name's Cuddy, I'm your cruise director. And a lot of people will be thinking, well, why is this guy teaching meditation? All right, so I'm always very honest. About 4 years ago, I went through a very tough part of my life for stress, anxiety, worry, overthinking things. And it spiraled out of control. And I had a little bit of a mini nervous breakdown, to be honest with you. And I started reading a lot of books. Got to a certain point, my wife's like, I can't really help you anymore. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Like, we'd got into a really bad place, and I said, right, I'm gonna have to start reading books. So I started reading a lot of books on stress, anxiety, worry, overthinking things, and I found out that every one of those books references meditation. I'm like, well, if all these books are mentioning meditation, I'm gonna have to give it a try. So I found a very simple, basic breathing meditation, which is what I'm gonna teach today. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to tell you what happens to you when you first start meditating. Because if I was going to tell you how to meditate, you would do it. A lot of you would be like, can't do this, it's not for me. You would leave and you would never do it again. So I tell you and explain to you what's going to first happen to you when you first start meditating and how much easier it gets through the amount of time of practicing. So the actual process of meditation is the easiest thing in the world. And when I tell you what you're going to do for 10, 15, 20 minutes, you'll be like, really? That's it? Absolutely. That is how easy it is. But it takes practice to make it, till you get yourself into a state of total awareness with no thought. That's what the art of meditation is. And it's the no thought part that everybody's like, no chance. And I'm going to explain why we have the thought process that we have. And your thought process is the internal monologue. This conversation that we all have. Everybody has it, but make sure we're very clear on this. Everybody has an internal monologue. If you are hearing voices, that is something completely different. All right, and we can discuss that after the class if you wish. All right, but we all have an internal monologue, this voice that goes on and on and on a daily basis, and quite frankly, it's exhausting. All right, and it's quite self-debilitating as well. It can be, oh, I can't do this, you're not going to do this, and why does this person do this, and oh, what happened in the past, and I keep going back to it, and I can't change things, and oh, well, it's something I've got a bill to pay in a couple of weeks' time, and oh, there's this problem. It's just this constant worry, stress, anxiety, and it builds up, and it never, ever goes quiet. So what I'm going to teach you is a very simple trick to be able to, what we call that is your monkey mind. The irrational part of your mind, this conversation, we symbolize it as your chimp, your monkey. And your monkey goes taka, taka, taka all day long, just doesn't stop. So what we do for meditation is I give you a little tip just to give your monkey something to do so you can distract your chimp. Good morning, how are you? Come and join us, we're just having a little chat about things. You are in the right place. Your path brought you to the right place. That would be a Buddhist joke for you. All right, that was 2 jokes in only the first 5 minutes. All right, so that's what we got for you. This is what we're going to teach you, and this is where the monkey meditation comes from. And like I say, it's such an easy thing to do, but it does take practice. So it's all about your thought process. The internal monologue we all have will be something that's happened into the past, or it'll be something that's going to happen into the future. And either way, you've got no control over either. If it's something that happened in the past, you can't go back to it. It's happened. All you can do is learn from it. But you can't go back. You can't ask, what if? What if I'd have done something differently? You didn't. It's in the past. It's done. It's dusted. Learn from it. And as Frozen once said, let it go. Okay? Really good song for a lot of people, in all fairness. I can't tell you how much of a good song it is, all right? Or your stress will be something that's going to happen in the future, and you'll be worried about it. And when you break it down, 99% of everything you actually worry about, something that happens in the future, never happens. It never fulfills. So you can have all this worry and this stress, and I'm worried about this and I'm worried about this. 99% of everything you think about never actually happens. So there's a lot of stress and anxiety broiled up in that, okay? So what we'll do is we'll teach you the basic meditation at the end of the class, and every class will be the same, and I'll teach the same tips for you for meditation. So when we get new people, it's nice to go over it and over it again. So it gets easier and easier and easier. All right? So we're going to teach you a basic breathing meditation. And we need to give your chimp something to do to distract it. Because your thought process is emotionally driven. Tip number 1, you can't control your emotions. You can only understand them. Your emotions are too strong, too powerful, but you can understand them. And that's why the breathing meditation is, we're going to focus on the breath. The breath is the here, the now, the present, the only thing you've actually got control over. So that's where the part of the breathing comes into. So you're going to focus on the breath. And I always use the internal conversation that we have. And a lot of the stories that I'll tell you is a lot of stories what happened between me and my wife. All right? So a long time ago, when we used to go and eat in the Windjammer, we would go for dinner, and we would sit down and we would eat. And after they finished the meal, I'd say, right, I'm going back to work. My wife would say, thanks for the conversation. And I knew she was being sarcastic. You could hear the tone in the voice. I knew she was being sarcastic. So I said, what do you mean? We just sat down, we ate, we had a conversation, I'm going back to work. And she would be like, no, we've just sat down, we've eaten. You've talked to yourself internally for the past hour. I asked you 7 questions, you answered 2 of them. You weren't anywhere near the conversation. And as I say that conversation, I will see a couple of couples that will go, that's you, that's exactly what you do. Which is why we're here at meditation. That's why we're here at the meditation part. All right, because we get lost in this thought process, this conversation where we internalize everything. There's probably already going to be a few gentlemen here thinking, oh, he's going to be talking about feelings. This makes me feel uncomfortable. All right, but it is a big part of it. All right, so as the gentleman looks behind you, I feel uncomfortable. The guy's talking about feelings. So it is. I'm going to teach you the basics of the breathing meditation, and all you're going to do, and this is how easy it is you're going to focus on the here, the now, the present. And you're going to focus on the breath. There's a sensation to the breath that you're going to feel, and then you're also going to count the breath. And the reason you count your breath is purely, it's a distraction for your thought process, your chimp. You need to give your chimp something to do, because if not, it's just going to carry on. It's just going to carry on, taka, 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 talking. Okay? So just for you to get into a nice, comfortable position, we're going to focus on the sensation of the breath of one breath. You're going to breathe in through your nose, through your nostrils. And as you breathe in, you're going to feel the sensation of the breath as it enters the nostrils. So that's one focus of the breath, is the sensation in. That makes you more aware of the here, the now. Then when you breathe out, you're going to breathe out through your mouth, and you're going to purse your lips as if you're blowing out a candle. And you will feel the sensation of the breath as it leaves the lips. So that's one part of the focus. The second part of the focus is you are going to count your breath as you breathe in, and you're going to count 1, 2, 3. And the whole part of the breathing has to be comfortable for you. Everybody has a different breathing pattern, so your count could be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or it could be 1, 2, 3. It's whatever is comfortable for you. And the count is the misdirection for the chimp. You need to give it something to do, because if not, your chimp is going to sit there going, this is not working. This is the worst 20 minutes of my life. Why am I doing this? So you need to give it something to do. All right? So just feel the first sensation of the breath. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. The breath is the elixir of life. You will already feel more relaxed off the one breath in. The breath and the oxygen will automatically calm your mind in any kind of situation you do. So we're going to do that. Now I'm going to explain to you what is going to first happen to you when you first start meditating. Just so that you are aware of it, so that you don't sit there and go, this is terrible, I'm never doing this ever again, this doesn't work for me. After a minute, you will count. Your count will be fine for the first 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, or however angry your chimp is, your conversation will start again. In fact, your your chimp will hold on and go, no, I'm not doing this, I'm not counting, no, I need to talk. If I don't talk, then there's no point being here. This is what your conversation will do. However, what you'll find after a week, maybe 2 weeks of meditating, that's how quick the change in yourself will be. What you'll find is after a week of doing it, 2 weeks of doing it, your chimp will start saying, excuse me, I'd like to meditate, I need to shut up, I need to shut up. It would really help. It would help all of us in this state. And that's the beauty of meditation. It's that quick. You will notice such a difference in yourself. You really, really will. All right? So much so, especially for relationships, is my wife now knows if I'm off to meditate, she says, it's fine, I'll leave you alone. That's perfect. I know it works. I'll leave you alone. And she'll leave me alone. She won't talk to me for 20 minutes, which is perfect. Granted, I'm meditating 27 times a day. But that was joke number 4 for you. All right? There's always a levity to it. All right? But it really is you're going to find it so beneficial. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do. And this is the tip to meditation to make it successful for you. When you first start meditating, you start doing the count. And don't forget that count is internal. Don't sit there going 1, 2, 3, because that's probably not going to annoy just your chimp. It'll annoy everybody else's chimp around you as well. So it's an internal, quiet count. It's a distraction for your thought process. You're going to give it something to do. Don't forget, after a couple of minutes, your conversation will start again. And this is the tip to meditation. Acknowledge it. Okay, I've stopped counting. Do not interact with the conversation. Don't let it keep going. Stop it. And this is the tip. Reset and bring it back to the breath. That's all you have to do. And you're all thinking, that's so easy. But your chimp is really sneaky. It will have already started a conversation without you realizing it. You'll actually think you're still counting, but your thought process has already started again. And this is why it's perfectly fine when you're meditating to cough, scratch, make a noise, and reset as many times as you need. Okay? So don't sit there going, oh, I can't cough, it's going to annoy somebody. No, cough, let it out, it's fine. Sometimes that little bit of a noise, that little bit of a jerk, can realign you anyway, and you'll be like, oh, the conversation already started without even realizing. Okay? So acknowledge it, do not interact with the conversation, reset, and bring it back to the breath. And that's the tip to meditation. And when you first start meditating, you might have to reset 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. If your chimp is so loud, you might have to reset 375 times the first time you meditate. However, I guarantee you now, after a week of doing it, after 2 weeks of doing it, you will only have to reset once, twice, 3 times. If you've had more of an annoying day, quite a stressful day, you might have to reset 4, 5, 6 times a day. But it will get less and less because your chimp, your thought process will understand, I need to meditate. At first, it's not going to like it because it needs to be heard. But the more you acknowledge it, do not interact with it, reset, bring it back to the breath, you will find it easier and easier. And at the end of every class, I'll give you some little tips that can make your life easier. Okay? So what we're going to do before you get started is I'm going to ask everybody to sit with their backs nice and straight against their chairs. Don't be slouching down. I'm going to tell you a few things that might happen when you first start meditating. First thing is, you don't actually, I just put my hands behind me just for confidence. You don't actually have to copy exactly what I'm doing. You're fine, I just realized. First thing that might happen is you might fall asleep. When you first start meditating, you'll probably fall asleep. Perfectly natural, perfectly normal. If you start snoring, don't worry about it. It won't annoy people as much as you think. Okay? Catch yourself, reset, bring it back to the breath. Okay? Meditation is not sleeping, it's not having an afternoon nap. All right? Again, meditation is to be able to sit in a state of total awareness with no thought. And again, when you first start meditating, you will have a lot of chimp action. You will have a lot of conversations. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly normal. It gets easier and easier and easier. Okay? And like I say, at the end of the class, we'll start talking about a few things that might help you in case you react to certain things, and we'll give you a few tips to make you have a better life, more fun. All right? So close your eyes. Sit with your backs nice and straight against the chairs. It's your first time at meditation, it's absolutely fine, but if you've just drunk a coffee, which some people might have, when you sit first meditating, you might feel like you can hear your heart pounding in your ears. That's the caffeine, that's not the meditation. All right, for the next class, make sure you don't drink any coffee just before you come into the class, as it will make it a lot easier for you. Sit with your feet nicely planted on the floor. Don't have anything in your hands. If you've got a cruise compass, if you've got a camera, cup, soda cup, just put it on the floor, just put it to the side. You don't need to be holding on. Don't forget, as Frozen once said, let it go. Such is life. It makes it a lot easier. Okay, so I'm going to put some music on in the background. I will talk you for the first few minutes of the meditation, and then after that, it's going to be on you. Okay, and then we'll tell you some good times to meditate after we've finished. So the first thing that might happen to you when you first start meditating is you might fall asleep, catch yourself, wake yourself up. The second thing that might happen to you when you first start meditating is you might get more angry, you might get more stressed, because your chimp is going to go, no, I'm not doing this. No, I'm not doing it. This is silly. Acknowledge it, reset, bring it back to the breath. And the third thing that might happen when you first start meditating, and I'm going to have to say this for the fellas, you might get a little bit emotional. You might do. It's perfectly normal. We hold things in. We're the hunters, we're the gatherers. We don't talk about feelings. Frozen said it best. Let it go. Everybody close your eyes. Take one deep breath in through your nose if you can. And out. And you're going to focus on the here and the now. Not something in the past, not something in the future. There's always going to be some kind of noise. The music's going to be in the background. Focus on your breath, which is the here, the now, the present. Not something in the past or something in the future. Start counting your breath as you breathe in. 2, 3. And out. 2, 3. Don't get into an argument with a chimp. Acknowledge it. Do not interact with it. Reset. And bring it back to the breath. Your count as you breathe in is the misdirection for your thought process, your chimp, which is emotionally driven. And remember the basics of meditation. When your conversation starts again, of which it will, acknowledge it. Do not interact with it. Reset. And bring it back to the breath. Take a deep breath in and out. Wiggle your toes. Shake your tush. Arms up. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Wow. Few questions for you when it's the first time, especially when you're first time meditating. First question, without looking at your watches, how long was that? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? That was 15 minutes. That was 15 minutes for half of you to fall asleep. That's pretty good. That was 15 minutes for some people to sit there and go, this is the longest 15 minutes of my entire life. When is this going to be over with? I saw some people's chimp sitting there going, this is not working, this is terrible. Looking around, am I the only one that can't do this? So the second question is, who's got a really loud chimp? Be honest, absolutely. And it is perfectly fine to be aware of, yes, you've got a loud chimp. And some people will have sat there arguing with their chimp for 20 minutes, okay? But remember, it's really easy to acknowledge the chimp, give it that misdirection, and you give it something to do. Meditation, I've found over the years, is that little switch to escape from yourself and everything that's going on around you for 10, 15, 20 minutes. So really ideal times for meditation. First of all, they say first thing in the morning when you wake up, because you've already had a sleep, so you're not going to fall back asleep again. Again, you don't want to get into that falling asleep part of it. Try and get it so you're sat in a state of total awareness with no thought. First thing in the morning when you wake up, get yourself into a nice position, clear your mind for the rest of the day. Or just before you go to bed at night time is a nice time to be suggested to meditate. Clear your mind before you go to bed, because a lot of people will find that the second they go to bed at night time, their head hits the pillow and it's like the floodgates has opened up. Everything that has happened to you in the day, the week, the month, the year behind, boom, it's open. And that's a really good thing to be able to clear your mind so you can sleep better. If you have a really good night's sleep and you start meditating, it's some of the easiest things you can do. Don't forget, they say 85% of all disease is stress related. That's a medical fact. 85% of all disease is stress related. So if you can remove stress from your life, you've got an 85% chance better of not getting disease. I would say meditation is useful for so many things. The only thing I can't endorse it for is weight loss. Pretty much an example for you there. All right, so the first story that I always like to start off with for everyone, for that can make your life a little bit easier, is the accountability of your feelings. So I've got a story, and I'll repeat this quite a few times through the cruise as well for everybody that comes in, is who stole my sausage? You'll find a lot of my stories are food orientated. So I'm going to tell you a story about who stole my sausage. Picture yourself in the windjammer, and you're stood buffet line, you're 8th in line, there's 8 sausages left in the tin. So you're, well, I'm very British. Queuing is a perfectly normal system for me to understand. It's okay, there's 8 sausages there, I'm 8th in line, I'm quite happy to wait in line because I know I'm going to get my sausage. So 2 sausages are gone, 2 people are further down the line, you're now 6th in line, there's 6 sausages left. That's fine, that's okay, I'm British, don't mind queuing up. I don't mind that. 4 people go, there's 2 sausages left, I'm 2nd in the line. As I'm just about to get my 2nd sausage, all right, somebody comes in, doesn't line up, takes 2 sausages and leaves. As I say that story, there's already a gasp from 3 people in the audience. That's the accountability of feelings. That one person who stood in line will not let that go. And they will talk about that person who stole their sausage. And they will tell everybody they see for the rest of the day, the rest of their cruise holiday, their cruise vacation, and say, but I was 8th in line, there was 8 sausages, I stood in line, I waited, why did I not get my sausage? How dare that person steal my sausage? It doesn't matter the fact that just at the other side of the buffet, there's another 64 sausages waiting for you. Accountability of your feelings falls on you. You decide on whether you're going to have a good day. It's not somebody else's fault. If you're going to let that person who stole your sausage mess with your feelings and your day, that's not the person's fault who stole your sausage. We don't know why that person stole the sausage. They've got a completely different agenda to you, okay? But if you constantly talk about someone stealing your sausage for the rest of the day or for the rest of your cruise holiday, it's not that person's fault. It's your fault. Your feelings are yours and yours alone. They're not mine. They're not the people that are with you. They are your feelings. If you're going to let somebody else have accountability over your feelings, you've already lost. Okay? Have you ever met, another good story for you is because you'll find a lot of people have a lot on their mind all the time. Have you ever sit in the dining room, especially the dining room on the cruise ships, it's a really good example. Have you ever met that one person on the dining room table that does not shut up from the second you sit down to the second you leave after 2 hours of eating in the dining room, and there's one person on your table that does not shut up? Have you met that person? Give us a little raise of the hands. A lot of people have met that person. Raise your hands if you've never met that person before. Because if you've never met that person before, it's probably you. That's one of the best ways I can tell you as well. All right? So that is tip number 1 for the first meditation class, is the accountability of your feelings. If you're having a bad day, everything goes wrong, you have to ask yourself, what do you need to do to make it go right? It is not somebody else's fault if they stole your sausage. It is your fault for letting that person bother you. Okay? And what you'll teach you through more of the meditation class, because everyone comes back, I'll always teach the same thing about how we do the meditation, so that will always be repeated, but I'll always give you a little different story at the end for how maybe you can make your life a little bit easier. All right? Things that I follow, that I find a lot easier, which makes me the happiest person on board. And I genuinely am one of the happiest people you'll ever meet. All right? And I would definitely put that down to meditation. For such a simple thing, it gets easier and easier and easier. And there's some things that you'll notice the second you start meditating as well. And you'll notice about other things, you'll notice things about yourself, and it's a really good process to get in. Is there any questions for the first meditation class? Because sometimes people don't like to ask questions because they feel stupid. Your chimp will say, don't ask a question because it's going to make you look like an idiot. Don't ask a question. All right? If you don't want to ask any questions in a public forum, you are more than welcome to stick around at the side. And we can have a little sidebar if you've got any questions. We have a question down there, yes. Now, the comfortability of you doing the meditation is however you find. The reason we put music on, if you had to sit here right now, it's a great question, by the way, do you think the music is better? All right? Is, if you just sit right now, there's noises going on. There's doors banging, there's glasses changing, the curtains, there's probably some people behind the curtain laughing. The music just is a background music that just deafens things out. Okay? There's no such thing as total silence. A lot of people think when you're looking for meditation, you have to be in a total state of silence. Unless you're in a vacuum, you're never going to get total silence. The music that we play kind of takes you on a little bit of a journey. Sometimes you actually get lost in a flow of the music. So music can be really beneficial for a lot of people. So that's why we use the music. No, if you're going to lay down and do meditation, or if you're going to go into a dark, you're going to probably fall asleep. Your body's already thinking, oh, it's sleep time. So you know that the lights, it's nice to have some lights going on. But again, it's whatever you feel comfortable with. Definitely whatever you feel comfortable. Any more questions? Yes, my love. Yes. Yep. So the part of the process for the breathing meditation, if you've got congestion or anything like that, I wouldn't suggest anyone tries to breathe through their nose because that would be the most miserable 20 minutes of your life. Absolutely. Don't fight the breathing process. And don't overthink the breathing process. Bearing in mind, we all breathe without even realizing it, just walking around. So breathing should not hamper the meditation. The reason I teach the breathing in through the nose, you're going to breathe into your bellies and you're going to breathe out through your mouth, is it's an old breathing style of, and I might say this incorrectly, I never pronounce this correctly, Pranamariya breathing. If anybody's ever read about that, Pranamariya breathing, which is how we used to breathe when we were in the wombs, when you were babies. So we'd breathe in through your nose, into the bellies, out through your mouth, and it's more of a pure way of breathing. Actually, it gets more oxygen into the body, which keeps you calmer. But if you struggle with that, whatever's comfortable, as long as you're counting the breath, which is the distraction for the chimp, you will find you get a lot calmer in much better circumstances. Okay? I meditate about every day, maybe in the afternoon, most times in the afternoon. I don't do it in the morning or the night time. I just find it breaks myself up in the daytime, so I meditate in the afternoon, which is also a good time to meditate. It's whatever you can find that you can find, because again, generally a lot of people say, and this is the people who you meet around, is the people that say, I haven't got time to meditate. If you haven't got time to meditate, you're the one that needs to meditate. I can guarantee you that now. If you think your sole existence your purpose is just to keep going all day long, you're going to do yourself harm more than anybody else. Taking yourself away from yourself for 10, 15, 20 minutes a day is the best thing I can advise anybody. Really is. Any more questions? Yes.
When I was doing it, close your eyes, hear the chimp.
Yep.
The pictures you see, is that just the chimp as well?
No, honestly, as the lady just asked, if you start meditating and the chimp quietens down, you can start seeing pictures. That's perfectly natural. What you'll find is your brain, they say, is it only 19%? We only use 10% of our brain, correct? That 10% is used by the conversation that we have, that thought process. So the second that goes quieter, you'll find you'll start using a lot more of your brain. And you get a lot more creative. And you'll see pictures, you might see images from the past. That's not a thought process. You might be able to start visualizing things as well, all right? A lot of people always say they see colors. It's the conversation, that thought process that we have is so loud, it can encumber different things in your life. And the second that starts getting quieter, of which it does, the more you practice, the more you do, the more you'll be aware of a lot of the things. So that's perfectly normal. That's not a thought process. That's fine.
But you've got to try and get rid of the picture.
Depends what the pictures are for yourself. We can definitely sidebar for that one. We can have a chat about that one after. Absolutely, yeah. Because I'm sure everyone's got different pictures. But if they're nice pictures of butterflies and beaches and a happy chimp, that's not a bad thing. If your picture is a gorilla battering your brain, you maybe need to let that picture go. And what a lot of people see is when we ask, and I'll see you walking around, you'll say, how's your chimp today? Some people might say, it's not really a chimp, it's more of a gorilla today. Because it gets louder and louder and louder. And what I'll start doing is, a lot of people when you first start meditating, the same thing goes round and round and round. And I'll mention at the next class what you can do to start resolving what's going round and round and round. Okay, so that's what I'll do for you. So welcome to the meditation class for part 2. For the ones that were here yesterday, we talk about the same things. We talk about the whole part of the thought process, the monkey mind. We talk about the internal monologue that we all have. So for the people that have just arrived today, you're going to get to hear the same things that we talked about yesterday. But at the end of the class, I'll give you something new to talk about. Today we're going to talk about expectations. Expectations of other people and expectations of ourselves, which I found really helpful because I used to have a lot of people let me down. So one simple tip, which is really easy, I'll talk about at the end of the class for you as well. And what I'll also talk about, when you first start meditating, there will be, sometimes when you first start meditating, it's the same thing going around in your mind. And it's the same thing you're trying to resolve, and it's the same thing, and you just can't start. It's the same question you're asking yourself. It's the same question, and it's the same thing going round. So I'm going to mention what you can do to start getting rid of that conversation. Thank you very much. Is that all right? Is it the same level as yesterday? Right. Let me just set the music for everyone. Let me just listen for it. We've got some more people coming in. Come and join us, guys. Come down and sit down at the front. Don't be scared. Perfect. And I'll also give you the music we use as well at the end of the class as well. So if you find the music helpful, there's lots of different music you can use. Whatever you find helpful for you. Good morning. Come and sit. Take a seat wherever you want, sir. Just not there. Someone's reserved that. There always has to be one joke at least. And a lot of people that have met me and see me, they see me on the stage and things like that, and they come to the meditation class and they think it's a joke class. It's not a joke class. It genuinely is a proper meditation class for the ones that just arrived, and it's really, really helpful. And the same story that we had for yesterday, a lot of people say, so you don't need meditation, you must be on the go all the time and just constantly high and all those kind of things. And yes, and I think that's due to meditation. I get through it a lot easier. Life becomes a lot easier when you meditate. You'll realize different things in life. That life's not as hard as we make it out to be sometimes. We are the ones that make our lives harder than it has to be. And the story about who stole my sausage, which I'll mention in another class. I won't do it today because I'll talk about something different. But the future is about the accountability for your feelings. Is on you. And it's a really good story. It must be a good story if you're talking about it to your friends. Who stole my sausage? And then somebody will come to me at the end of the cruise and said, you know what, it was the same story, but they stole my waffle. All right, so it happens, and it happens on a daily basis. So meditation. The reason I got into meditation, about 4 years ago, I went through a very tough part of my life. It was tough for me. If I was to tell you the story of what was tough for me, you'd probably go there, really? That's what was hard for you? But you know, everybody has challenges. For whatever reason, you know, there's so many different emotions a part of our lives. And what I found over the time is understanding your own emotions can help you understand other people's emotions and can make your life a lot easier. So what we talk about is the internal monologue, the internal conversation we all have. And everybody sat here has it, everybody walking around the ship has it, and it's loud. And it can be so loud that you can stop listening to people, because you are completely entranced in this conversation that we have. And that's what kind of started with me and my wife a long time ago. We got into conversations that I wasn't even acknowledging her because I was lost in this conversation. So it's not that the men are not listening, ladies. It's that they've got this internal thought, and that's not an excuse, gentlemen, for everybody sat here going, see, it's not me, it's my chimp. It's not me, it's my chimp. It's not an excuse, it's just we have, and ladies as well, sometimes it's the ladies that don't listen to the gentlemen. When the gentlemen are asking questions, you know, we just get lost in this thought process. And every part of our thought process is emotionally driven. And it's something that's happened in the past, or it's a worry or stress about something that's happening in the future. And very rarely do we live in the here, the now, and the present. And they call it the present because it's a gift. And I know you'll have heard that saying before. All right? It is about living in the here and the now. And that's what meditation is. Once I've taught you what you're going to do, and it's a very simple thing that we're going to teach you for the meditation, because you're going to focus on your breath. That is all you're going to focus on is your breath. And you're going to count your breath. Feel the sensation of the breath. And that's it. And as easy as that sounds, because it's a very simple technique, it's going to take practice. And it's going to take practice because of this conversation that we have, this thought process, which is emotionally driven, is very loud, it's very erratic, and that's why we call that conversation your chimp, your monkey mind. And everybody has it, and it's very loud. And sometimes it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop from waking up in the morning, you're going around and say, oh, I can't believe, 4 years ago this happened, why did it happen? Why did it happen to me? What can I do to change it? You know, it can be that, it can be something in the future of, well, you know, oh, this is happening, maybe I've got a bill to pay, or I've got an exam in a moment's time, maybe you've got an operation, and you know, it's all worry, stress, emotional, and it's not easy, and it can completely engross your life. And everybody has something different going on in their life. So what we do, meditation, is a tip to distract your chimp mind, to give you 20 minutes break from yourself, and yourself being your life. And that's what it is. And when you're looking for meditation, the actual art of meditation is to be able to sit in a state of total awareness with no thought. And it's the thought that is loud. And again, that thought process is emotionally driven. And it leads to fear, anxiety, stress, worry, overthinking things. And I was really bad for overthinking things. Some things would happen at work. I would come home from work, or we would go to the wind gym with my wife. We would sit and I would just talk about it all day long. Well, this has happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And this happened, and this happened. And my wife would just be nodding at me. And she'd be like, you do realize I've no idea who you're talking about, what you're talking about. And it's just constant. And it just kept building and building and building. All right? And then if it wasn't work, it'd be something else that I would be talking about. And it was something else. And bless my wife's cotton socks, she would, And then she would just be listening. You do realize I can't help you anymore. I said, no, you're absolutely right. So I got to a very dark place, and she said, there's literally nothing else I can do for you now. You know, I'll give you all the love and the support possible, but you still don't listen to these people because you're just still wrapped in this thought process. So I started reading books. And every book for stress, anxiety, overthinking things, references meditation, calming the mind. So I started doing it. And there was a change in myself within as quickly as 2 weeks of doing it. Because the first time you're going to meditate, I'm sure yesterday when you meditated, as we talked, you said they've got this chimp mind. You're going to be able to do it for a minute, 2 minutes, then the conversation start again. And I asked you the question, who realizes you've now got a loud chimp? But it gets easier and easier and easier. And within 2 weeks, you will see a massive change in yourself. You'll start letting things go. Because I will always give you the tip of let things go. Especially the sausage. Okay? There's so many great tips that I'll give you at the end, especially in today's class, that will help and resolve things for you as well. So the process that we're going to do is a very basic breathing meditation. Different kind of meditations all have different things that you focus on, but ours is a very simple breathing meditation. You're going to focus on the breath, and you're going to breathe however comfortable you want to breathe. Okay? I will mention that for the meditation that we do, but it doesn't have to be like this. It's however you can breathe. Is you breathe in through your nose, into your bellies, and you breathe out through your mouth. And you're going to focus on the sensation of the breath as you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. You're going to purse your lips as if you're blowing out a candle. So everybody take one deep breath in through their nose and out. So the part of the focus there is you've got a sensation of the breath. So that gives you a focus of the here, the now, the present. Not something in the past, not something in the future. The second part is you're going to count the breath. You need to give your monkey mind something to do. So you're going to count the breath quietly on the inside. So you give your conversation to do. So as you breathe in, however comfortable you are breathing, everybody has a different breathing pattern. You breathe in, you count 1, 2, 3, and you breathe out, counting 1, 2, 3. If you can't breathe through your nose for any congestion problems or anything like that, you can breathe through your mouth. It's absolutely fine. It's all the premise of focusing on the breath, okay? And it's whatever is comfy for you. Because believe it or not, the whole part of meditation should be calming, nice, and easy for absolutely everyone. So that's the focus on the breath. And the reason you count your breath is you give your monkey mind something to do. Now, the reason you're going to give it something to do is because it's going to want to keep talking. Your monkey, your emotions are far too strong. You cannot control them in any way whatsoever. But you can understand them and you can give it something to do, a distraction. So you give it something to do with the count so that you can have this clear mind as you sit in a state of total awareness, knowing everything that's going on with no thought. So as I mentioned yesterday, what happens when you first start meditating is for a minute, 2 minutes, you are fine. You'll be fine. Counting 1, 2, 3. After 2 minutes, 3 minutes, your monkey mind will start again. Your thought process will start again. And this is the tip to meditation. You acknowledge it. Okay, I'm not counting anymore. Do not interact with the conversation. Don't give it any more substance. Let the conversation go. Reset, and you bring it back to the breath. Now, when you first start meditating, your chimp will sit there and go, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not counting. I need to talk. I need to talk about something that happened 4 years ago. It's still annoying you. It's what it does. It's that strong. Don't fight with it. Because the second you fight with it, you've got a conversation going and it just goes and goes and goes. So acknowledge it. Do not interact with it. As Frozen once said, let it go, reset, and bring it back to the breath. Okay? And that is the tip to meditation. A few things that will happen when you first start meditating is you will fall asleep. If you catch yourself snoring, don't worry about it. Everybody does. We're going to try and get you into a nice sitting position, so you should stop yourself falling asleep. Because when you first start meditating, yes, you'll fall asleep, but you don't want to just start falling asleep every day, because that's not meditating, that's falling asleep. But it's fine when you first start into practice. You will be able to get yourself into a state of total zen, no thought. But it does take practice. So please remember those basic tips to meditation. Count the breath. Focus on the here and the now. You've not got any control over the past. You cannot go back to anything in the past and change it. It's happened. You can only learn from how it not to happen again to you in the future. You've got no control over anything in the future. You can plan for it, but you can't control it. And 99% of all the things that you stress and worry about never actually happen anyway. So you have all this stress and worry about something that's going to happen, and when you get to the final day, it doesn't happen anyway. So we've got all these wasted processes. So this is what meditation is all about. It's living in the here, the now. We're going to play some music in the background, which people will find quite calming. Sometimes it feels like it's took you on a journey. And this will cancel out a lot of the noises that you might hear. You might hear some conversations. You might hear an angle grinder occasionally. You might hear a door slam. These will not actually interrupt your meditation as much as you find. Okay? And when you're sat, you are perfectly more than welcome to cough, scratch, move yourself around, reset and start again. You can do that as many times as you wish. What you'll find is the more and more you do the meditation, you will have to reset less and less, because it gets easier and easier and easier. Okay? Yes, everybody will have that. Yes, you'll have your eyes closed, and the light will be off as well by the time we start meditating. So what I need you all to do is sit yourselves back nice and straight against the chairs for me. That should get you out of the sleeping position as well. Okay. Keep your hands nice and straight, however comfortable you want to be with your hands. Don't be holding on to anything. Don't hold on to a cruise compass, cup of coffee, your soda cups, your cell phones. If you've got any mobile phones, put them on silent. You don't want to pick up a signal in the middle of this and get a text message. Okay? Like I said, the music will be on in the background. First thing that might happen, you might fall asleep. Second thing you might happen, you might get more stressed or more angry because your chimp will not shut up. And you will argue with your chimp. And you will sit there going, no, shh, shut up. 1, 2, 3. And you'll sit there going, am I the only one who can't meditate? Am I the only one that can't meditate? That's what your chimp will do. It's perfectly normal. It's perfectly natural. Acknowledge it. Do not interact with it. Reset and bring it back to the breath. The third thing that might happen sometimes is you might get overwhelmed with a little bit of emotion. This happens when you start letting things go. You can get overwhelmed with emotion. It's absolutely fine. It's perfectly normal. First time it happened to me, I went straight back to the book. Is this normal? Yes, it absolutely is. As Frozen once said, let it go. Okay? You are in a safe place. And we'll talk about, there's no judgment here. We'll talk about that at a later class as well. All right, so everybody close your eyes. I'll talk for the first few minutes. Then you'll find it's on the music and you'll get lost. What you'll find is the quieter your conversation gets, the louder the music gets, which is quite nice. You'll feel that the music surrounds you. Everybody take a deep breath in and out. Focus on the sensation as it enters the nostrils. And purse your lips like you're blowing out a candle as you breathe out through your mouth. And focus on the breath. As you breathe in, count 1, 2, 3. And as you breathe out, count 1, 2, 3. Every part of the meditation is nice and calm for you. Once your chimp starts talking again, of which it will, acknowledge it. Do not interact with it. Let it go and bring it back to the breath. Take a deep breath in and out. Start wiggling your toes. Shake your tush. Arms up. Good morning. Welcome back. Wow. That was 20 minutes. That was 20 minutes, and yes, some of you fallen asleep, that's fine. That's 20 minutes of taking yourself away from absolutely everything, and the world is still spinning. The world still exists without you being in it. And that's something I do a lot more these days. I place a lot less self-importance on what I do. And if I don't do something, things still happen. It's okay. It's absolutely fine. So when you first start meditating, what a lot happens is the same thing keeps going round and round and round. So the question I'll ask you before we go any further is, who's got a really loud chimp? I bet you have. And we can definitely have a little sidebar after as well if you wish. So, yep, a lot of people have, and it's a constant thing, and there is something that will be unresolved, and it will keep going round and round and round and round. And it doesn't matter how many times you stop, reset, once that conversation starts again, something keeps coming. Something keeps coming back. So you have to start resolving it. And that's one of the biggest tips I'm going to give you is start asking the right questions to resolve what's going round and round and round. If not, it's going to carry on. So you'll realize what it is. You need to start asking the questions. Now, the questions that most people ask are, why does this keep happening? So if you ask yourself the question of why does this keep happening, you will give yourself a list of 100 things of why it keeps happening. You'll never actually get the answer to resolve why it's happening. Just you'll keep telling yourself, well, this is why it's happening. Well, this is why it's happening. This is why it happened. This is why it happened. You're never going to get an answer, and everybody can get the answer for yourself for whatever questions that you need. Believe it or not, you don't need Google as much as you need, okay? You need to start asking the question of, what do I need to do to stop this keep happening to me? The second you change the question for yourself, you will get the answer. So if you ask why, you'll get a list of 10 things of why it keeps happening to you. If you ask if you ask the question, what do I need to stop this happening to me? You will automatically get the answer. It's just the changing of the question you ask yourself. You can ask yourself, why did I fail at this? Well, I failed at this because I didn't do this, this, and this. It's not giving you the answer. If you say, what do I need to do to learn from that, to move on, you will automatically answer yourself your question for you. Whether it was a failed exam, failed audition, something that happened in the past. Everybody has a different story. Everybody has a terrible past. Everybody has something that's gone wrong. You have to be able to resolve it for yourself. It comes back to the accountability of you, which comes back to the sausage question. And I know there's some people saying, just tell us what the sausage story is. I'm going to tell you at the next class. I will tell you at the next class what the sausage story is. So that was the one thing that I wanted to be able to help some people with. The second thing that I used to struggle with, and I've done it myself with other people, is I used to get let down a lot. I would constantly be let down. We'd make plans, and somebody, no, I can't do this now. No, I can't do this now. And it's hard sometimes when you get let down by your family, because your family, you've not chosen your family in all fairness. So there's sometimes, well, it's my family, you know, you can't choose your family. But when you get let down by your friends, because you've chosen your friends in your life, that's an actual choice. When you get let down by your friends, that can hurt more sometimes. So when you're constantly getting let down by people, which I was, and I'm sure I've let people down in the past as well, what I had to start doing, because that really would mess with me in the past, the way I got through it is I have extremely low expectations of everybody around me. I literally have the lowest expectations of everyone around me, so they never let me down. However, I've got a really high expectations of myself, and I constantly meet those expectations, and that fulfills me. Does that mean everybody else is going to work their life around my code of ethics and my teachings? No, not in any way whatsoever, but as long as I know I'm doing the right thing, then I sleep really well at night. So a really good question is, for a lot of people ask, and I mentioned this yesterday, good times to meditate. First thing in the morning when you first wake up, your mind is more receptive to negative things, in all fairness. For that first 20 minutes when you wake up in the morning, don't put Facebook on, don't put the news on. Any part of the news these days is horrible, it's negative. If you look on Facebook, you're looking at your friends doing something really cool, which I'm sure you're doing now, is like a picture of me on a cruise. So your friends are waking up and they're going, oh, I hate that person. Oh. That's what Facebook is. Facebook is look at me, look at what I'm doing, and look at what you're not doing. Which is fantastic when you're doing it for your 2 weeks a year, but the other 50 weeks of the year, you'll be like, oh, I hate that person. Oh, I hate that person. So there's such a negative thing for Facebook. So keep away from it for 20 minutes, because I think the first 20 minutes when you wake up in the morning, your delta waves, your brain waves are more receptive to negative things. So first thing you do when you wake up in the morning, meditate. You're not going to fall back asleep because you've already had good sleep. Clear your mind, give yourself a good setup for the day, or sometimes that thought process is really loud just before you go to sleep. So the second your head hits the pillow, the floodgates are open, you might go, oh, the whole day just comes back. You just start internalizing things. And a lot of people, sometimes when they come to the meditation classes, they'll say, oh, I wake up at 3 o'clock every morning with the same thing going round and round and round, and I struggle to go back to sleep. If you do that, a lot of the times, funnily enough, it's the gentleman that told me this as well, is, well, my wife's giving me a list of things to do, so I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning making sure I'm doing the list. This may sound like a cop-out, but the easiest thing to do, and this might be a shock, horror, gasp for some people, if your wife or friends or work have given you a list of things to do, write it down. If you write it down, the first thing you look at in the morning, oh, this is my list of things I've got to do. You don't have to remember anything. I actually do that. I wake up every morning, there's my list of things to do. So I'm not thinking about things, oh, well, the wife said I've got to do this. Yep, she asked me to do 27 things. Right, I've got to do this, 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 this. So I will have a list of things that I have to do. Because you can't retain that much information sometimes. So write yourself down a list, put it down at the side of your bed, go to sleep. Forget about it. That's actually a really good tip for anybody, in all fairness. So I've genuinely low expectations of people around me. And some people say, that's really bad. I'm like, no, nobody lets me down now. I never have a bad day thinking someone's going to let me down. Because most people do, so I'm used to it now. So when I meet people that really do surpass my expectations, I'm like, wow, this is a great person. I'm going to have this person in my life for a lot longer. It's great. So I found that really helpful way back in the day. And the accountability of your feelings and whether you're going to have a good day is on you. It's not on somebody else. All right? You decide what kind of a day you're going to have. All right? If you've got any questions, you are more than welcome to ask any questions. You have a question down there, sir? Yes? No, honestly, the reason when you first start meditating, you have to give yourself a count because your chimp's too loud. Your conversation is too loud, it's just going to go. What you'll find if you do it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, you'll not even need a count after like a month of doing it. Because your chimp will, like I say, the first time your chimp starts, it's like it doesn't shut up. After a week, 2 weeks of doing it, your chimp will start saying, excuse me, I want to meditate, please, give me 20 minutes. I need to shut up. It will actually start helping you. It was like, no, I need to be quiet. Give me 20 minutes, please go out of the way, because it'll start encouraging you to meditate, because your chimp will understand. It's like a banana for your chimp. So your banana is your meditation, because your chimp wants it. But at first, it won't like it, it'll argue with you, but it'll get easier and easier and easier. So it will. You'll be able to see, you'll just get yourself, you'll just say, right, I'm just going out of the way for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you'll get yourself, and you'll just be able to sit. You know what, your body's already prepped for it. You'll sit, you'll start breathing, and you'll find you'll go into a different level of consciousness in seconds. So, right, some things that you might feel when you're really good at turning that conversation off, you might feel numbness in your body. That's why I always say slowly, take a deep breath in, start wiggling your toes, shake your tush. You might start feeling out-of-body experiences. You might feel you're sat here, but you'll feel like you're thinking about something over here, not thinking about something, but you're just completely different experiences. You might get visualizations, you might get creative, a lot of things come through. If you weren't creative before, a lot of ideas can start coming through. You'll be like, oh, that's not a bad idea. So it's really good to have a little notepad at the side of the things as well. Any more questions? Because what I can do for you is, if anybody's got any questions, because sometimes we don't want to ask questions, I'll answer you in a second. You can have a little sidebar to the side as well, I don't mind. Question down here.
Yeah, it may not be relevant, but is there a link between people that can just doze off like have a cat nap and those that can't with the ability to meditate, and with the process maybe that's going on in people's minds where they can't switch off?
That's an excellent question. Am I saying I've got the answer for that one? I don't know. That's a very scientific question. So the question there was, do you think there's any correlation with people who can do cat naps to people who can't do cat naps because they have the ability to turn off? I would say yes, absolutely. And I always use me and my wife as an example. I am really good at taking a 5-minute nap, and boom, I'm ready to go for the rest of the day. My wife struggles with falling asleep in the afternoons anyway. She really, really struggles. But then she has really good sleep through the night. All right, so I would definitely say there is some correlation, because it does come down to the emotional part of the brain. And it's in everybody. And you'll see it. If you sit down at the cafe promenade, you will see people bouncing around, not even aware of how fantastic their life is. You are on a cruise around the Mediterranean, and there will be some people completely oblivious to that because they're lost in this thought process. I mean, it's pretty awesome what you're doing. Granted, the sun might not be shining, but it will be this afternoon. And honestly, from the weather forecast I've seen for the rest of the cruise, enjoy the cloud today, because it's going to be an absolute roaster every other day we get out there. And those Brits, we like to talk about the weather. And I'll mention this at the shows tonight, so please enjoy it. Because today it was like, oh, the weather was terrible, it wasn't sunny. Tomorrow you're going to be like, it's too hot. All right, so just enjoy the cloud today, because it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. But yeah, everybody gets lost in this worry, this stress. And again, your worry and your stress, and I was thinking about this when I was just sat to the side, your worry, your stress, your anxiety doesn't actually change the outcome of anything. The outcome will possibly be the same. You're not going to change the outcome by being worried, by being stressed, by being anxiety. If you've missed a bus for work and you get to work 20 minutes late, you're still going to be 20 minutes late whether you're upset, mad, at everybody in the entire world. The outcome is still going to be the same. So your worry, your stress, and your upset that you cause yourself doesn't actually change the outcome. It only affects your well-being. And again, I'll reiterate it, I know I said it in yesterday's class, 85% of all disease is stress-related. And what hopefully you'll do when you go away is you'll meditate more and more, and you'll get into a state, and I mentioned this, it's like going on a diet. You'll feel really good, you'll do it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, you'll be like, wow, I don't need it anymore. Same as dieting. I lose 2 stone, I'm like, no, brilliant, I'm cured, I don't ever have to. Then I start eating cake again, all right? So I go back to dieting 2 months later, all right? So it's probably the same thing with meditation for you as well. You'll have less triggers, things will not annoy you as much, you'll see the bigger picture, you won't sweat the small stuff, in all fairness. And then it'll get easier and easier and easier, and then what you'll do, you'll stop meditating for a month, and then certain things will set you off. You'll have triggers, and you'll be like, I need to start meditating again, and that's how it works for you. Good morning, everybody. How are we all? So we have some newbies today, which is good to see. Just as a quick question for the newbies, why are the newbies? Why have you just found us now? Any reason? What's that? You've been too busy. That's a good thing. Those people that say I'm too busy to meditate are the ones that need to meditate. Because life is too busy. It genuinely is. We all have so much going on. Everybody has so much going on. And I always do the same stories, and we just change things a little bit, especially at the end. I'll give you a few tips. Today will be about judgment. Judgment's a really good one for everyone. A lot of people think, no, I'm right, you're wrong. So I will talk about that at the end of the class. But for the ones that have been here before and you want to know why is Cuddy the Cruise Director doing meditation classes, but I think we figured out there was a Facebook update and there was a picture, and I was like, oh, that's about the time I was going through a really tough time. So it was about 3.5 years ago I went through a really tough time in my life, and there was so many things going on, and every day was a bad day. And I'm sure there's a lot of people will understand that, but I'm like, and I've always been quite a positive person, but I couldn't keep the positivity up. So every morning I woke up, I was like, no, today's going to be a good day. I'm not going to let anything bother me. No, it's going to be a good day. By 9:30 in the morning, it was a terrible day. So 4 things had gone wrong, and I'm like, oh, well, this has gone wrong, and this has gone wrong. And it just piled up, and there was so many feelings of not being able to do enough, and insecurities, and all those kind of things going on. You know, and everybody has these. Everybody has bad days, and they just accumulate. And when I talk about the sausage story at the end, you'll realize that was possibly one of the best things I ever learned for myself, was accountability of my feelings are mine alone, and they're for nobody else. All right, and that's what the sausage story symbolizes. So when I was going through a tough time about 3-4 years ago, I started reading books. I got to a certain point where my wife said, you know, I can't really help you anymore. You know, it's a little bit of an emotional roller coaster ride. One day you're up, one day you're down. It's all over the place. I said, no, I know. What do I do? And I'm sure, again, a lot of people have been there. Everybody has been on that tricky road sometimes. So I started reading books. I said, right, I need to help myself. All right, I can't keep going down this downward spiral. So I started reading books. And tomorrow, at tomorrow's class, I will bring you the reading list that I found really helpful. And there's some really good books in there for overthinking things, for stress, for anxiety, for worry, understanding your own emotions, understanding other people's emotions. But every book you read will reference meditation. So I thought, right, I got to try meditation. So I learned a little very simple tip for meditation. But none of the books that I read for meditation told you why you were going to struggle when you first meditate. Because you can have an argument with yourself. Because every part of your thought process, this internal monologue, which is quite self-debilitating for a lot of people, we all have it. We all have this internal conversation. This internal conversation, as you're sat right now, listening to me speaking, might be thinking, oh, in 4 days' time, I've got to do this. I've got to go back to it. Oh, no, let's get focused back on what he's actually saying. That's how quick you will zone out. Which is, I'm not making an excuse. I know the gentleman's laughing down there because they'd already zoned out, thinking about something that's going to happen in about 5 days' time. Totally understandable. Ladies, I'm not saying your men are not listening. All right? Because I think there's a lot of ladies say, well, my husband doesn't listen to me. It's not that we're not listening. We can sometimes be listening to something else, which is this internal monologue we all have. And that's where it comes from. So meditation is a little switch to be able to turn that conversation off. Every part of that internal monologue that we have is emotionally driven. It's driven by some kind of emotion of something that's happened to you in the past or something that's going to happen to you in the future. And either way, you've got no control. You can't go back to something that's happened in the past. You're just going to keep internalizing it and churning it. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Why did it happen to me? Why is it happening? You can't go back to it. You can't change it. You can learn from that experience to empower you not to make those mistakes again, but you can't go back to it. A lot of people stress and worry about something that's going to happen in the future, of which you've got no control over. And 99% of all the things you worry about happening to you in the future never actually happen. So you can sit there and say, well, what if this happens? This is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. And then when you get to it and you get to the end of it, you're like, yeah, none of it happened, did it? You know, fear, anxiety, stress, and worry is everybody has it. Everybody has it going. Do I not have these feelings anymore? Still have them. But I understand, and I feel that meditation is one of those things that gets me through things is I don't sweat the small stuff anymore. Yes, I still have a fear. I still have, well, what if this dog gets too close? It's going to bark and bite my hand off. Well, that's understandable, but its chain's not long enough to get me, so I can still walk around the dog. That's another great euphemism for you, in all fairness. So these are the things that we have, and I find meditation such a helpful thing, and it's all about that thought process that we have. And it's emotionally driven. And it's this conversation that you have, and we symbolize it as your chimp. It's your chimp mind. It's the erratic part of your mind, and it's the chimp that goes taka taka taka, taka taka taka, taka taka taka. And I'm sure you've been talking to some people, and you can look at them thinking, they're not listening to a word I'm saying whatsoever, because they're lost in this internal conversation. So your chimp mind, what we do for meditation is we give it a distraction. We give it something to do, because if not, it's going to carry on. So what I teach you for the basic meditation is you're going to focus on your breath. That is literally what we're going to do for 10, 15, 20 minutes. But if I don't give you a distraction for your chimp mind, it will constantly keep talking. And when you first start meditating, it's going to argue with you. In fact, I'm going to tell you what to do, which is a very simple breathing meditation. You're going to focus on the breath, the sensation as you breathe in, the sensation as you breathe out, and you're going to count the breath as you breathe in, and that is your distraction for your chimp. You need to give your chimp something to do because it's too strong. Far too strong. You cannot control your emotions. Your chimp, you can only understand them. So that's what we do. So just to go through the basic premise of the breathing meditation, you're going to focus on the breath as it enters the nostrils. If you can, breathe in through your nose. If you've got congestion problems, you can breathe through your mouth. But it's a nice practice to breathe through your nose in. You breathe into your bellies, believe it or not. It's a cleaner way of breathing. And you breathe out through your mouth, and you purse your lips like you're blowing out a candle. So breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. You will feel the sensation of the breath as it enters in. There's a sensation as it enters the nostrils. There's a sensation as it leaves the lips. That's actually part of the misdirection for the chimp, because you'll feel something. The second part of the distraction for the chimp is you give it something to do. So you count the breath in. And every part of the breathing has to be comfortable for you. Everybody here has a different breathing pattern. You might want to count to 7, you might want to count to 4, you might only be able to count to 2. We give you a basic breathing of counting to 3 as you breathe in. 1, 2, 3. And you breathe out. 1, 2, 3. That's the distraction you give your chimp mind. And believe it or not, when you first start meditating, you'll be able to zone out in seconds. But your chimp will start again. And this is what was never described to me in any books that I read, is that conversation will start again. So I give you some tips, okay? Because when you first start meditating, your chimp is so strong, it's so angry, it's so upset about something, it's going to hold on and go, no, I'm not doing this. No, I'm not counting. No, I'm not doing it. And you after this, and you're laughing. I hear the giggles because people have been meditating. They go, yeah, that's exactly how it starts. But over an amount of time, and I can honestly say it was a life changer for me, was 2 weeks of meditating. 2 weeks of giving myself a little time every day to practice, practice, practice. I noticed a difference between that conversation in my mind. 2 weeks, all right? And there's a few tips I'll give you over how to resolve those conversations that's going on. We're going to talk about judgment at the end, and then we'll talk about the sausage story. Okay? So that's what we do for the meditation, is you count your breath in, you count your breath out, and that is a distraction. You give it something to do. Because if not, if you just sit there trying to keep a clear mind, those conversations are going to start again. So the tips to meditation are: focus on your breath, breathe in, breathe out. And what's going to happen after a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, that conversation will start again. And this is the tip to meditation. Acknowledge it. Okay, I'm not counting anymore. The conversation started again. Do not interact with the conversation. Do not interact with it. As Frozen once said, let it go. And this is the biggest tip to meditation. Reset and bring it back to the breath. And when you first start meditating, you will have to reset 10, 20 times, 30 times, 40 times, 50 times, because your chimp is so loud. If you have to reset 10, 20, 30, 50 times for your first meditation session, you're the people that need to meditate more, and you need to practice and practice, practice. Some people will zone out in seconds. Fantastic, fair play to you. But this internal monologue we all have will come back. Okay? So what I want you to do is sit nice and comfortable, but with your backs nice and straight against the chairs. The reason we do that is a few things that will happen when you first start meditating is you will fall asleep. Perfectly normal, perfectly natural. If you hear yourself snoring, catch yourself, wake up, acknowledge it, reset, bring it back to the breath. Keep your feet nicely planted on the floor if you can. Don't hold on to anything in your hands. If you've got coffees, soda cups, compasses, handbags, put them down. Again, let it go. Every part of this is going to be nice, relaxing and calm. You all right? Don't worry about it. A few things I'll mention for you as well. You're perfectly fine and natural to cough, scratch, sneeze, reset in any way. There's no such thing as perfect silence. Believe it or not, you coughing, you scratching will not interrupt other people's meditation. But don't forget your chimp when you first start meditating will go, I'm not doing it. This is not allowed. I need to talk. But what you'll find after doing meditation 5 days, 10 days, 14 days, your chimp will start saying to you, excuse me, when's it meditation time? Please, let's meditate, let's meditate. It will appreciate the silence. It will appreciate the calm that you have. And you will stop sweating the small stuff. All right? You will start to let things go. It's such a nice part of life, okay? So let's get started. 3 things that might happen when you first start meditating. You might fall asleep. You might get a little bit angry because you're sitting there going, am I the only one that can't do it? Am I the only one that can't shut up? Perfectly normal, perfectly natural. Nothing that might happen, I do say for this gentleman, first time it happened to me, I went straight back to the book. Is this normal? You might get a little bit of emotion. We're the hunters, we're the gatherers, we're the ones that hold things in. We don't talk about our feelings. Why am I here in a meditation class in the first place? I got dragged here by my wife, all right? It's perfectly fine, it's perfectly normal, it's perfectly natural. Let it go. If anything you take away from this cruise, let it go, all right? You're going to love the sausage story. All right, here we go. Everybody close your eyes. There's going to be some music on in the background. You might hear the ship squeaking. That might actually reset your monkey, your conversation, because your chimp is very sneaky. It will have already started talking without you realizing it. So when you hear somebody cough, you hear a squeak, you hear a door slam, it will bring you out and you'll go, okay, let me acknowledge it. Do not interact with it. Reset. All right, there's going to be some music on in the background. I'll give you the tips of meditation for the first few minutes. Take a deep breath in. Feel the sensation of the breath as it enters the nostrils. As you breathe out, you're going to feel the sensation of the breath as it leaves the lips. Purse your lips like you're blowing out a candle. The music in the background, you'll find gets louder the quieter the conversation gets. With every breath in, you get calmer. The breath is the elixir of life. It's okay to cough. It's okay to scratch. It's okay to move. Once your conversation starts again, acknowledge it. Do not interact with it. Let it go and reset. Bring it back to the breath. Take a deep breath in and out. Start wiggling your toes. Shake your tush. Arms up. Good morning. Welcome back, everybody. Wow. That was quite serene today. So, quick question for everybody. Who's got a really loud chimp? I knew it. I already had your sus for that one, Sarah, I'm not going to lie. There we go. Everybody has it. Some people are really good. Doesn't mean to say that it's just we have it. Life is emotionally driven. Every part of what we deal with is emotionally driven. We have these conversations going on constantly. What we can do, what we can't do. Can't do this, can't do that. Why has this person done this? Why has this person done that? Why is this happening to me? Well, I can't enjoy now because something is going to upset me in a week's time. I know I was just speaking to someone a few days ago and they were saying, well, I'm really struggling right here and right now because something might happen in 4 months' time. I'm like, you're missing out on the beautifulness that was happening to you right now. There'll be some people who's walked around on their cruise holiday, their cruise experience, and they'll have been worried so about something that's happening in a month's time, they'll have forgotten how fabulous what you've done on this cruise. You will be so lost in something else that's gone on, you will miss what's happening to you and how great life is to you in this present moment. Because we get lost in the past or we get lost in the future. And either way, we've got no control over. So I was talking about judgment before we started. Judgment is one of the biggest things that I struggled with. Okay, I had judgment for other people, so that when I was put into a certain situation, then I thought, well, if I've got judgment for everybody else, everybody must have judgment for me. And I struggled with that, and I really, really did struggle with that. So a really good book that I read explained judgment of, everybody's got a different life story. Everyone's got a different journey. We've got this gentleman here, you've lived your life with your parents, how you were brought up, and we have this gentleman here who's lived your life, your teachings, how you were brought up, your social environments. And when you meet in the middle, we sometimes get this clash of, no, I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right because I was taught this way. You're right because you were taught a certain way. So when you get into the middle, we get this angst and this anger of, no, this person's completely wrong. It has to be done like this. It has to be like this because I'm right. This is how I was taught. When there's always a compromise, there's always different ways of getting the same results. But most people can get lost in this, no, this person's completely wrong. Why have they got this opinion? Why have they got this? It's completely wrong. That goes against every part of my teachings. This person's an idiot. I'm right. Then there's this emotion of anger and frustration. I'm right. This person's wrong. And they won't let it go. And they'll talk about it for a long time of, no, I had this situation. I was right. This person was wrong. Do you agree? And most people go, and they won't be agreeing with you, but they will just want to, satisfy you by letting you hear what you want to hear. So the judgment thing I found really helpful is, everyone's got a different teaching, everyone's got a different light. When you meet in the middle, there's always a way to get through things together. All right? The who stole my sausage story. I'm sure you're all sitting, waiting to find out the story. So I think it's a great conversation that you can have. It's about accountability of your feelings. The accountability of your feelings are yours and yours alone. And don't give anybody else the empowerment over your feelings. So for instance, if you are stood in the Windjammer Cafe, in the restaurant, any kind of restaurant where you are, and it's a buffet style dining, you stand there and you think, it's okay, there's 8 sausages there, there's 8 people in line, I'm going to get a sausage. We're very British. We understand the value of a line and a queue. And we're quite happy to stand in line thinking there's 8 sausages left, I'm 8th in line. Most people's going to take one sausage, I'm going to get a sausage, I'm fine with that. Okay, so you wait for your sausage. 2 people go, they take a sausage each, you get down, you're 6th in line, it's okay. There's 6 sausages, I'm 6th in line, I'm going to get a sausage. Not a problem. 4 people leave, there's 2 sausages left, there's 2 people in line, you're 2nd in line, there's 2 sausages left, this is fine, I'm going to get a sausage. Then somebody who's not queued up, they've not lined up, they've come around, they've just gone in, they've took 2 sausages and they've walked off. As I say that story, I see 4 people already gasp with, what? They didn't line up, they didn't stand in the queue, they take 2 sausages, how are they still allowed to be alive? The accountability of your feelings are yours alone. It is not that person's fault who's come in and took those 2 sausages. You don't know why. They're on a different planet to you. All right? That's where the judgment comes. Okay? They've come in, they've took their sausages, they've left. They don't know they've upset you. However, if you let that person who stole your sausage bother you for the rest of your week, for the rest of your day, it's not the person's fault who stole your sausage. It's your fault for letting somebody else have an accountability over your feelings. You are the only one in charge of your feelings, nobody else. If you will look at the bigger picture, in all fairness, in most buffets, if if there's a tub of sausages here, I'm guessing on the other line there's another tub of sausages. It wouldn't take that long to go and get another sausage, in all fairness. All right? However, somebody, and I'm not saying anybody in here, but let's be honest, there will be, there always is, will hold on to the fact that someone stole my sausage. And they will tell everybody around them who they meet for the next day, 2 days, a week. I've had some people come to a story of something that happened to them 4 years ago, which is very similar. And they still tell you that story because that was unacceptable. It was about standing in a line for a queue to go to see the Colosseum, and it was 4 years after, and a lady said, you need to know somebody stood in my line in the Colosseum, and I didn't get to see the Colosseum for another 5 minutes. And that was something that happened 4 years ago, and she still held on to it, how upset she was with that person. Let it go. Okay, and I always mention this, and I mentioned this in previous classes, I think it's a really good one. Do you ever sit at the dining room table? Do you ever sit down and there is one person on the table that does not show up for the entire time you sit at the dining room where we are on board? And you'll meet that one person, you're sat there internally talking, when is this person going to shut up? They're telling you everything about them for the entire time, for the 2 hours your dining experience, and it's exhausting. Have you met that person? If you've met that person, put your hands up. Absolutely, you've met that person, good stuff. If you've never met that person, it's probably you. And they'll be talking about the sausage. However somebody's sausage has affected them, they will let you know for the entire time they're around, because it is still getting internalized and people will not let it go. So that's the who stole my sausage. If somebody steals your sausage, it's not that person's fault. You're accountable for your feelings. And I think it's such a good story for you to remember wherever you go, the accountability of your feelings and your sausages are yours alone, not the person who stole your sausage. And that's why I get a lot of people come up to me through the cruise say, someone tried to steal my sausage, didn't let them do it. It's fine, I let it go. I got over it. If I ever write a book, I swear it'll be called Who Stole My Sausage. Might be a #1 bestseller. Top shelf. Who stole my sausage? All right, so I find that really helpful, and I do. This is kind of a mantra that I go through and things like that. So the accountability of your feelings are yours and yours alone. We've talked about the judgment. Everyone's got a different set of teachings. You come to meeting the different. It doesn't mean to say people get lost in this fact of I'm right, you're wrong. It's not always the case. There can be two people that's right, and you work together when you get into the middle. There is so many people, and honestly, getting lost in something in the past. And if you've got something that happened to you in the past and you keep internalizing it, when you start meditating, that conversation will keep going. And you'll be like, it's okay, I'm trying to count, I'm trying to reset, but you keep coming back to that same conversation. You need to start resolving the conversation. We all have the answers for every conversation, for everything that's upset us within ourselves. Yes, Google helps. Yes, you've got Siri, you can ask questions. But there's something that is pertaining to you, something you cannot let go, you need to resolve it within yourself. And I found that if you change the way of the question you ask, instead of why does this keep happening to me, if you ask why, you will get a list of the reasons why it happened to you. You'll never actually get the answer. If you ask yourself the question, what do I need to do to stop this happening to me, you will get a lesson. You will get a list of 3 things that you can actually start doing to stop it happening to you. We all have the answers within. This is the end of your meditation class. I genuinely believe it's one of the best things I ever learned how to do. And to be able to pass it on to anyone, I hope you enjoy. I genuinely do. All right? Your accountability of feelings are yours and yours alone. Okay? The art of meditation is actually the ability to be able to sit in a state of total awareness with no thought. And every part of your thought process is emotionally driven. And it's your chimp. We all have it, and everybody has it. And when it gets too loud on a daily basis, get yourself that little switch, step away from yourself, and meditate. I can guarantee you so much success. Good times to meditate, first time in the morning when you first wake up, or before you go to bed. A lot of people find when they lay down, it's like the floodgates are open and everything that's happened to you in the day can just keep internalizing, it can make you struggle to sleep, all right? So do it before you fall asleep. First thing in the morning, you're not going to fall back asleep anyway. So really good times. If anyone's got any questions, you are more than welcome to ask. A lot of people don't like asking questions because their chimp will say, don't look stupid. Don't ask a question that everybody else clearly knows the answer to, but I don't. So if you want, you can have a little sidebar. If you've got any questions, you are more than welcome to. If you've got any questions you want to ask now, you are more than welcome to. Yes, my love. Now, you can lie down if you want to meditate, but what will happen is you will fall asleep. The automatic sleeping position is lying down. But whatever makes you feel comfortable, because you don't want to, when you first start meditating, you will fall asleep, but you don't want to start falling asleep. Meditation is not having a quick nap in the afternoon. It is literally the ability to sit in a state of total awareness with no thought, and that's what practice will get you to. And you will get these moments of time loss. We actually meditated for about 17 minutes this morning. So for a lot of people, that will have been the longest 17 minutes of their life because their chimp wouldn't stop talking. Or it will be the quickest 2 minutes because you zoned out, you have this clear mind, and you'll get more energy through your day. Honestly, it's that good for everyone. Yep. Any more questions?
I have a question.
Yes?
When you're standing in line and someone does steal your sausage,
Yes.
and you can feel yourself getting
Yes?
wound up,
Yes?
okay, what's the best? I'm guessing you just stop, breathe, and just count to 5.
See, you've answered your own question. The breath is the elixir of life. Does anybody struggle with... So the question was, when you feel like someone's going to steal your sausage and you can feel this anger, you can feel your chimp, symbolize it as your chimp, you feel this chimp starting to go. Starts raging. Stop. Take a breath. Honestly, the oxygen you take in, the breath that you take in will calm you in every situation you have. If you've got to have, if you're at work and you've got a meeting with someone who you're working with and you're like, oh, God, I've got to have the chat with them. They're not going to like the chat. All right, take a breath before anything you have to do. The breath is the elixir of life and it will automatically calm you down. So yeah, any breath taken, you take stock of the situation, take yourself away from it, and then come back. And your chimp will still lash out, your chimp will still react, but it will happen less and less and less. And that's what you'll notice. Your chimp will lash out a lot less. Does it still happen? Yep, because your chimp's ferocious. And some people don't only have a chimp, they have a gorilla. That's how big their chimp is, all right? There's a few people going, yeah, I've got 3 gorillas at this moment in time. All right, so that's a really good question, yeah. Take stock, take a breath. Understand that sometimes your chimp will lash out. Apologize. Move on. Let it go. Let it go. Thank you very much. If you want to stay behind for any questions, you're more than welcome to. Have a fabulous day on board, and we'll see you around. Thank you, everybody.